So, good morning, everyone. We've been dealing with Unit 5 called etiquettes. We have seen telephonic etiquettes, etiquettes for small talks, foreign tours, visiting counterparts, etc. Right? So, now let's move on to one of the other topics that falls under here is respecting the privacy. Right? Privacy has become a greater issue these days, how much to disclose and how much not to. Remember whenever we join an organization, we need to give some amount of information about ourselves. Right? Beginning from a copy of our resume to the copy of our documents like our mark sheets, our degree certificates, etc. We are supposed to deposit, right? So, how much should be given, how much not in a workplace situation from both the sides? That is, as an employee as well as an employer. We're going to see that. So, what's the dictionary meaning of privacy? The dictionary meaning of privacy is freedom from intrusion, interference, or public attention. To be let alone, right? Uh, Remember, you don't disclose every information of yours in the public. You don't disclose each and every information about yourself to the public. Right? So, what do we do in that case? How much do we disclose? Whatever we feel appropriate. All right, whatever we feel appropriate is what we will disclose. Remaining uh, information remains with you. Now, what's the definition? Let's see a few definitions of privacy. According to Warren and Brendis, privacy is the right to be let alone, the most comprehensive of the rights and the rights most valued by civilized men. Right? To be let alone, people don't intrude, people don't ask you questions about things. Second definition is by Alan F. Westin. He says that the claim of individuals to determine for themselves when, how, and to what extent information about them is communicated to others. According to W.A. Parent, privacy means the condition of not having to undocumented personal knowledge about one possessed by others. So, is the statement true or false? Privacy means to make public the personal information of an individual without the knowledge of an individual. You may type your answers in the chat box. Excellent, quick and correct answers as expected and as every time it is done. False. Right? Next, respecting employees' privacy. Please mark this as an important question from the exam point of view. Respecting employees' privacy. So, as I said in the introductory part, in the opening remarks, that we need to give certain basic information wherever we are employed, or we need to ask for certain basic information whenever we employ people. Like basic information means, let's say we'll ask for some identification, some proof of the degrees and the mark sheets that one claims in his or her resume. Right? You have to prove it that you are the person, this is your mark sheet, this is your specialization, right? But along with this information that the employers gather, they also need to take care that the information that they have gathered is not disclosed in any cost. Not only disclosed, but they do not even want the information to be passed on to somebody else. Yes, at times there is a need to disclose the information. Let's say you are working in a company. You're working in a company and there is some kind of an inspection coming along. because we also need to keep a check on the ethics part, right? Whether are there the same number of employees as they have mentioned in their profile? Are the employees whom they are mentioning having or holding the same kind of expertise? At some point of time, people do have this kind of a checking or inspection. At that moment, they have to disclose the information of the employee. But uh, this information, to what extent they have to disclose, is a matter which they have to keep in mind. It's a very crucial matter, right? What kind of personal information does or is required? Let's say you're working somewhere. Nowadays, what companies do is they ask you to open up, or they deposit your salary into a bank account, and they would ask you to open up a bank account with which their company is, or their organization is associated to. They have made up a association, or they have got a collaboration. So you need to open up so that your salary is deposited there, right? So pay and benefit records, the payment records. So the company would surely have that person number A. This is his bank number. This is his account number. Person B. This is the bank. This is the account number. They have to pay you the salary, right? How much to pay in whose account? They have this basic information over there. All right. They have this basic information over there. Next, they would have formal and informal personal files. Personal files include all your previous achievements that you have, certificates, mark sheets, all of the achievements that you made, maybe an experience certificate from your previous employer, etc. Video and audio tapes. What kind of recordings that we have when we do presentations? When right now, when we are taking the class, we have a video recording of it. That's an information uh, that the organization decides whether to keep private or to make public. Records of web browsing. Remember, in each and every organization, we keep a watch, or we keep a tab of how or what kind of information does or is the employee searching on, right? Is looking for. We look at all this stuff. Next, we would also look at the emails. Remember, each organization has its own email setup. The way we have for ourselves, we have the university email setup, right? Then this email, because it's a G Suite, okay, this email, because it's a G Suite, the employers can have a copy of whatever email that we write, and they're supposed to have it, so that they have a record of people not creating mischiefs. Okay, they have a record of people not creating mischiefs or sending mischievous emails. That's correct. And then the keystrokes. So, how do we need to maintain a balance? As I said, sometimes, like when we have an inspection or something similar, the information, the employee's information needs to be disclosed. The employee's information needs to be disclosed. But it is always dependent on the employer and the employee. Right? It's always dependent on the employer as well as the employee to maintain or to decide what amount of information do you disclose, right? So this is actually maintaining a fine balance between disclosing and not disclosing. Okay, maintaining a fine balance between what to be disclosed and what not to be disclosed. Now, whenever as an employee you are submitting, and whenever they as an employer are asking you to submit information, the employer should tell the employee for what purpose are they asking you to submit that particular piece of information. For what reason are you being asked to submit that particular piece of information? They are supposed to tell you. If they don't tell you, it is your duty to ask that, sir, for what purpose are we getting it submitted? At that, you cannot ask at the time of joining, because at the time of joining, everybody would like to have a little basic of it. In case there is a special demand or a special desire for information, that this particular information is required in your case, sir, then it is their duty to tell you. If they don't, it is your duty to ask. Right? It's never only one sided. Remember, it's two sided. Whatever information, especially personal information, is being disclosed, should be disclosed with the employee's consent. You should tell the employee that we are going to disclose this information. We're going to disclose this information, and for this purpose. Every time the purpose should be there, they should be telling us the purpose. Right? They should be telling the employees the purpose, the employers. Right? With the knowledge and the consent of the employee, we can disclose, or the employers can disclose, their personal information. Please remember, as an employer, one should collect the personal information that's necessary for the purpose that has been clearly told to the employees. Let's say our university, when they there's an I-card that we have to prepare, right? Everybody has an I-card. You have it, I have it. Why do we require the I-card? We require the I-card for an identification that we are the students or we are the employees of Marwadi University. All right, that's the purpose. That's the purpose. The purpose is clear. So they have told us that we require your passport size photograph. I'm giving a simpler example, do not worry. Now, whatever information is required by the employer, they should disclose it very clearly to the employee. And after not only just disclosing it, but also using it for the same purpose. But also using it for the same purpose. Remember, asking for a photograph to prepare an I-card and using the photograph elsewhere is not a good sign, and it is not fair and lawful. Because you are a part of an organization, it becomes more like a family. You spend a lot of time with them, right? So in that case, your information, whatever the organization requires, should be accurate, complete, and to date updated. Let's say I got a campus placement, right? Let's say I got a campus placement. At that time, I had just completed my graduation, but I intended to study further. I wanted to get, let's say, master's degree. I wanted to get my master's degree. At the time, it was not possible. I got my on-campus placement and I started. And then along the side, I also started with my master's. Along the side, I started with my master's as well. So when I say updated information, it means you would complete your master's some point of the time. But that information is not with the organization whom you had joined before, you started your master's, because you got a campus placement and it was a nice offer and you thought it would give you a great break in your career, right? So because of those reasons, what so happened is you completed your master's after starting working with the organization. So being updated over here would mean that you should tell the employees that now you have got your master's degree. Not only tell the people, but also not only tell your employers, but also submit the certificate so that the information is updated in the system. Information is updated in the system. Then whenever this information that you have provided, you want to access, you as the employee wants to access it, it should be readily available. There should not be any kind of discrepancy over here, right? It should be accurate, it should be complete, and employee should be able to access it. Right? The way we have our user ID and password to log into the university's portal, I can access my information. Whatever information is passed on, I can see it there on the portal. It's easily accessible. All right. So that should be the case. So the disclosure of the employee's personal information should be done with the prior consent of the employees. Is the statement true or false with respect to the term privacy that we are discussing? You may type your answers in the chat box. Excellent. Quick and correct answers. Absolutely correct. They should inform you priorly that we are going to disclose, or there is an inspection coming up, and uh, this information is required to be disclosed of each and every employer, each and every employee, right? Then we have got a very important topic. Please mark this is important from the exam point of view. Learning to say no. Yes, I understand it is hard to say no, but we should learn it. And why is it important to learn is what we are going to see, study, and disclose. Like we can see it here when we are going to work on it. Learning to say no. Right? Why do we need to say no? So remember, when you every time when somebody says yes to something which he or she feels is not important, and yet you have to say yes to the things because you could not say no, you have said a big no to something which is important. You means any person whosoever says a yes every time. When you say a yes every time and you know that whatever you have said yes to is not as important as something else, it means unknowingly or knowingly you have said a no to something which is very very important, which is very very important. Why? Because when you say some no to something which is not required and you had to say a no, you kept aside something which was important. You shifted aside something which was really important, and because of that one yes that you said, right? Remember, yes men never create anything great. Remember, please remember, we are human beings. We cannot be saying yes, yes, yes to everything all the time. What happens is if you say yes, yes, yes all the time, every time, what so happens is what so happens is you burden yourself. All right? You burden yourself with unnecessary work. Why? Because every time when you say yes, we are human beings, we are not machines. Even machines have a capacity, right? For how long can you run your mobile phone or your laptop without charging? Hours, few hours. Can it go on for few days, few months, few years? No. It requires a little break and little energy. You require to charge it up. It becomes continuous working may spoil the working of your computers, right? Things like that would happen. Similarly, you as a person, and we understand that we feel a little shy to say no. How would the other person feel is the thought that comes to us when we try to say no, 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 I cannot do this work, but then I have to do this work, I have to say yes. How can I say no? Right? But what happens is we are overburdening ourselves with the habit of taking or saying yes. Remember, as I said, we are human beings and we cannot necessarily do all works at all times. We cannot necessarily do all works at all times. And that's why saying no becomes a huge necessity. Saying no becomes a huge necessity over here. Why? Because We cannot be saying yes all the time, and we cannot be, you know, doing all the work on our own. That's not possible. Humanly, it's not, right? Because we are social animals. I hope many of us have been told in our course of time as students that human beings are social animals. Human beings are social animals. We have been telling this, and yes, we are. We really are. Because as I said, if you do not communicate or you do not talk to people, you may die. A person may die if one does not talk to other people, right? You may have to pay that with your death. Right? Because we are social, we need to communicate, we need to talk, we need to vent out the feelings that we have, right? The way we feel about things, the way we talk about it. So thus what happens over here is, when we are in this particular feeling of being a part of a society, there are some things that happen and that we know as, or we all call it, social obligations. Social obligations. So what happens over here in social obligations is, you feel, he did my work, now how can I say no? Or she did my work, and how can I say no? Right? But instead of burdening yourself and then leading to embarrassing situations, instead of burdening yourself and leading to embarrassing situations when you are unable to complete that particular kind of work, it is better to say no. Usually, the ability to say no reflects that you are in the driver's seat of your life. You are the one who's going to take the decision. You cannot be always under somebody's obligation. You cannot be always under someone's obligation. That is the reason you should know how to say no. Moreover, when you learn the art of saying no, it gives you a sense of empowerment. It gives you a sense of empowerment. So, why should one learn to say no? First thing, there are three things that you need to know over here. Know your priorities. Remember, everything is never going to be the priority, and everything cannot be priority all the time. Everything cannot be the priority all the time. Right? So you should know what is your priority, which things require your attention first, and which things require your attention later on. Which things require your attention first, and which things require your attention later on. Right? We're not saying that other things are useless, you should not pay attention. You should pay attention. Absolutely, you should pay attention. But what is the order in which the attention is required? What is the order in which the attention is required? That's how you have to set your priorities. You need to set your priorities. Right? So, which is the thing that requires your attention first? Then, which is the thing which will acquire or require your attention next? Right? So, set it in order. That way, it is easier for you as a person to decide whether you will be able to do that particular work or not. So, should you commit to that work or not? Right? When you know your priorities, you know how much time you have or how much time you can spare to do other people's work, and how much time you require for your own work. You require time for your work as well, right? You cannot push back your work for somebody else. You can never push back your work for somebody else. So, arranging information or arranging the order in priority of work that is required or attention that is required would actually help you decide whether you need to say a yes or no to the work that has been asked by the other person to be done. Right? Somebody asks you to do some work, can you or would you be able to do it? Is what you have to think over here at this point of time. Next, know your goals. What are your goals? Where do you have to reach to? Everybody has a goal to attain. Everybody has a goal to attain, right? Then know what is to be done when. See, most of the time what we do is, when we are not arranging our work in a priority list, we start finishing work which seems easy, but might not require our attention for that many hours, but we do it because we find it easy. And then what happens is, the most important work is where you have less time, and then you have to just finish it off for the sake of finishing it. You don't have time. Right? So this is very important to know what is to be done when. So now let's say, is the statement true or false? One should say no to the social obligations that drain time and energy to pursue one's dreams. What do you think? Is the statement true or false? Excellent, correct answer. You should not be draining your time and energy, right? Social obligations that drain your energy and your dreams should be avoided. So the statement is absolutely true. So steps of learning to say no. Please mark this as an important question from the exam point of view. Please mark this as an important question from the exam point of view. Saying no. Please remember, when you say no, it does not mean that you are a selfish person or it is rude. You're just a person who is trying to manage his or her priorities. The reason that we say yes is, we are habituated to say yes. And even at times when we feel like saying no, we would say yes out of our habit, for the habit of doing so. More of the times, we also feel that saying no is something very impolite and unkind. But remember, it is necessary to say no at times, so that you can reduce the burden over yourself. Right? So that you can reduce the burden over yourself. You have to also look about your not only mental, physical health, but also your mental health as well. Right? So at that particular moment, saying no becomes more important. Why? Because you are supposed to look towards your health aspects as well. Next, sometimes we hesitate to say no because we feel, how would the opposite person feel? What kind of feelings would he or she have, or he or she harbor in his or her mind? Right? How would things work? Will it be a good idea to say no, or is it not a good idea to say no? What do I do? That confusion that arises in our minds, right? That also leads us to not say no. Right? Moreover, as I said, we have already seen that human beings are social animals. If I say no, what if I'm left alone? Lonely, all by myself. What do I do? Now, this kind of thoughts are the thoughts that lead us towards saying yes. That is why we lean more towards saying yes. Right? The habit that we have formed, the situations that arise, etc., force us to say yes. We are forced to say yes. How can you say no? Right? Here I remember a small incident. Whenever we were invited to have food with our society members, our neighbors, we as kids would say, no, 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 I don't want to go there. Or mom is like, no, no, it looks rude, you have to go. Right? That's one of the things that's harbored in our minds. Please remember, you should know your value. Realize the fact that you and your dreams are equally important. Though you have obligations to pay to the society, but you and your dreams are important and valuable. You should always value your own opinions over others. Remember, you should take opinions from others, You may take opinions from others, you may talk to others, what should I do? I'm thinking of this, that, whatever is in your mind. But remember to take your decision considering your own opinion also. Everybody is equally important, unique, and valuable. The attitude of being helpful and humble is very nice, helps in your growth. But remember, it begins at home. Be humble to yourself as well, be helpful to yourself as well. That is where we make a mistake and we forget being helpful and humble to ourselves. Remember, when you are saying a yes, consider answering this question: is it really worth it? Is it really worth the time, the stress, the energy, and the resources which I'll spend after it? If you feel it is really worth it, then you may say, yes, there's no harm in doing that. But when you feel that no, it's not worth it, be bold enough to say no. Do not grab or say a yes to make others happy or at the cost of your own happiness and peace of mind. Remember, a no would be helpful over here. So, is the statement true or false? When one says yes to everything, every time, one feels stress free and relaxed. Absolutely correct answers pouring in. That's false. In fact, you feel more stressed and unrelaxed if you keep on saying yes to everything. So, please mark this as an important question from the exam point of view. A few tips. We're going to look at a few tips which can help us in saying a no. So first, please be direct. Don't say such as no, I can't, or no, I don't want to, or I don't wish to. I don't try to give different reasons because people might find a loophole in the reasons that you give. Next, please don't apologize and give all sorts of reasons. There is no need to apologize. Everybody cannot do everything. Even if you can do that thing, it's not necessary you have the time and space to do it. Don't lie. Be straightforward, because when you lie, it leads to guilt. Oh, I could have done it, but I said I cannot, and there's nothing else work I want to do, but no, something like that. It is better to say no in the very beginning than be resentful later on. Later on, complaining will steal your peace of mind and other person's energy and resources as well, right? To the person whom you are complaining. Whether it's you yourself, when you are self complaining, or you are complaining to somebody else. So it is better to say no in the very beginning of that task. Be polite. See, no does not mean that you just say, no, I cannot do your work. That's it. End of story. Be polite. You can say, thanks for asking, but I don't have the time and space. Be polite even when you are saying no. Practice saying no. Don't say, I'll think about it. What happens is it will prolong the entire situation. This is the worst answer you give when you want to say a no and you say, I'll think about it and I'll let you know. That person relies on you and you rely on, that person forgetting the whole incident of asking you. Right? That is not done. Remember, your self worth does not depend on how much you do for others. It depends on how much you pay to the society within your own field with your own expertise. All right. So, with this, the topic comes to an end: respecting privacy and learning to say no. Do we have any doubts, questions, or queries? All right. There is no question, queries, and doubts. Great. So, we can move on to our quiz. There you go. I have pasted the link for today's quiz in the chat box. You may start attempting your quiz now. Excellent. Everybody has completed the quiz. Now let's take the attendance. Enrollment number 2, 5, 8, 9, 10, 12, 16, 17, 19, 24, 25, 26, 29, 31, 34, 35, 38, 44, 46, 47, 49, 50, 51, 53, 54, 56, 58, 65, 67, 68, 69, 72, 73, 82, 85, 89, 91, 96, 100, 101, 102, 103, 106, 108, 117, 118, 119, 120, 121, 125, 126, 131, 134, 144. We'll call out the absent numbers once in case you have missed it by any chance. So absent numbers are 10, 12, 67, 91, 108, 120, 134, and 144. Fine. So thank you, class. We call it a day over here. Thank you, class. Have a nice day. Thank you.